in the very last to eliminate them. So it was impressive to see how McDonald rose to the occasion.
I'm curious to see how Temple is able to respond with Izzy Garcia continuing her run through the series. Every win is a game she has started for this team. She has a complete game against Santa Fe College. She's going to have her work cut out for, though, against a Dragons team that is one of the most powerful teams in the tournament with home runs they can hit.
And we have rarely seen teams at the same time hit their pitchers, and we're seeing it on both sides this game. Maybe the last time we saw it would have been Eastern Florida State and Santa Fe.
Taken to the circle for the Dragons in opposition to Isabel Garcia, Haddison Foltz, and you've seen her pitch already in this one. She is a strong force out there in the circle.
Yeah, a little more extreme, I would say, than Grace McDonald. The velo's strong, will pitch to contact, but also has enough juice to get some strikeouts, and at times has run into bouts of wildness. So it's been a little more variance for Foltz, but she has been effective when she's thrown.
She got touched up a little bit in the game against Northeast Alabama, but looking to try and bounce back, as you can see her looking for her 25th win of the season, as Lexi Dudechka will step into the left-handed batter's box. As that pitching report brought to you by Credit Union 1. We'll take a look at our starting lineup in a moment as Dudechka tries to get things started. She was a very quick start for this team against Seminole in the 9-3 win in the second round game for the Leopards. As she will be followed by some big names further on down. Interesting note, Izzy Garcia down there in the bottom of the order, one of two pitchers that are going to be hitting for themselves. And we don't know if we've seen that so far in this tournament. As a shot right back to Foltz, and what a way to get yourself invested into the game. A little bit of a juggling act, but Foltz up to the challenge, and one batter, one out.
Love a bare hand snag.
This thing's up and rolling. By the way, that batting order brought to you by Netting Pros. Jasmine Benavidez, the shortstop for the Leopards, striding into the game with a .425 batting average, part of a top three in the order that are all batting above 400. Takes the first pitch for a ball. This is a Temple Leopards team that has not necessarily gotten off to quick starts, but they've been mostly the home team throughout most of their contests. The only time they were the visitor was Florida Southwestern. A single from Benavidez gets them their first base runner with one away.
You said that like it was a threat, Caleb. Like, yeah, they're not going to get off to a hot start. And there goes Benavidez back up the middle. Great piece of hitting.
Taking it as a challenge. Reese Cottrell following. Sophomore batting .441. Number 2 on the team in home runs. Played in 62 games. Goes after the first pitch. Rolls this one. And a shot to Flores is going to see that one called a foul ball. And is going to end up resulting in try number 2. Saw that in the first game as well, where a batter was trying to get out of the box and ended up fouling it off on a double hit.
Hard to tell sometimes, Caleb. It clicks sometimes so softly off the inner part of the leg or the thigh. You don't realize that the spin's changed and it's not actually just hit that way off the barrel. So good job by the home plate umpire and first base umpire Russell McLaughlin on the recognition.
Foltz can't build on the first pitch strike. Feels like a little bit of a quieter atmosphere now, as the fans from our first game have gone either to celebrate or to console themselves with some lunchtime delicacies before they make their way back to the park, as Florida Southwestern falling in the opener as Northeast Alabama took them by storm 6-4. Mustangs punching a ticket into the championship game. Winner of this game will face off against the Buccaneers later this evening. A game that is scheduled for 5:30 local time.
You are right. They took them by storm, by force, it felt like.
Pitch outside, moves it to 2-2. Set the storyline for this one that I think is a deeper dive than people that are not in the state of Texas would know. These two teams played each other back in early March. In fact, March 2nd when they squared off against each other. That was in Paris, Texas, as this ball grounded to third. Instead of going the short way, going across the diamond, Trinity Silguero is going to get out number one, Silguera. And out number 2 of the inning is recorded. Up to second base goes Benavidez.
So Garrow has been impressive at third base. I know she's not played a lot there this season, but settling into that role late in the year is so important for the success for Shelby Shelton-Stein. And she's been operating at least at a good level in the field here in this tournament.
Ratu will take her first stride into the batter's box. Ratu batting .384 on the year. She is the leading power stroker for this team. 17 on the season, but isn't just full of home runs, and that's the thing about this Dragons team. A lot of extra base hits that come in the double variety, as 6 of the batters in their starting order have double-digit doubles this year. 2-0 count to the catcher for the Leopards. And that one's going to slip through the legs back behind home plate. It's going to be a pass ball as Casey Gobert not able to trap that one closely enough, and Benavidez now just 60 feet away. 3-0 count. And a 4-pitch walk. First walk that's, I believe, actually, we only had 1 walk in the game prior to this one. A couple of hit batters. Hasn't been something we've seen a whole lot of, and already Coach Shelby Shelton is making a trip out there to the circle to talk things over with Fultz. And this might be, with runners on the corners, Temple in a situation where they could draw up a little bit of a creative way to bring that run home.
Well, you've got the steal and stop play that you could run, although there are 2 outs in the inning. I think one of the questions becomes, was Fultz trying to execute there and miss the spot, or was she trying not to give Kaya Ratu anything to hit because the first base was open at the time, and now you create the force play at second base that's available to you as well? So perhaps a targeted miss there to get to Litchfield.
Litchfield coming in, and she is, according to the numbers, making her debut on the season. As no numbers this season for Riley Litchfield coming in from third base. This ball flared out to right field. That one's going to end up being 1 pitch, 1 out. No need for the discussion, or discussion works out to a T, as that's going to end up doing it. We'll send the Leopards back out to the field in a scoreless game. Pitcher doesn't give up a whole lot of hits either. There's a sub-1 walks, hits, and innings pitched for her stepping out there into the circle. Faces off against Brandy Phillips to lead things off for Paris Junior College. And quickly falls behind, but gets back into it at 1-1.
Garcia's on my watch list for all tournament pitchers. 16 1/3 innings so far, and an ERA just north of 3, which is pretty great against this level of competition.
Pitched an absolute gem in the elimination game against Santa Fe College. As those numbers brought to you by Credit Union 1. Went 7 innings against Santa Fe, gave up 6 hits, only 1 run. Did give up a solo shot early in that game, but was able to stifle the Saints, and the Saints team that was pretty impressive on the offensive side of the ball on the way to getting them into this game, as the count goes to 2-2 on Brandy Phillips. And Phillips will bound this one to a brought-in third base, Litchfield across the diamond. I do have to apologize. We said Litchfield had not gotten any games in this year. This is her 57th game of the year, so I want to clarify, she is not brand new to the diamond. As you take a look at the batting order for the Paris Dragons, brought to you by Netting Pros, as Esmeralda Soto and Grace McDonald will start things off for a Dragons team that everybody can hit in this lineup.
I think Soto is among the best shortstops we've seen, both the bat and the glove. Powered out a home run yesterday, but McDonald has had a multi-home run game in this World Series.
Starts things off with a 1-1 count. The shortstop, 367 on the year, has scored 56 runs, which is second on the team. And when your number 2 hitter is scoring right around the same amount of runs as your number 1, that means that they're setting the table well. Those 15 doubles. And impressively as well, has walked 27 times. Won't walk this time. Flown out to center, calling for it, putting it away. Marley Kennedy makes out number 2. Hi, Paul. Grace McDonald will get her cuts for the first time for the Paris Dragons.
There is a spot in the all-tournament team for the DP slot, and I think Grace is in the mix for that.
Grace is one of those players that when you put in the all-region team list, you can put in for a position, you can put in for 2 ways, you can put in for DPs, you can put in for pitchers, and she is one of those that can be put into every single spot in those all-tournament teams and all-conference teams, just because of the versatility that she brings to her roster. Falls behind 0-1, but gets back into it as well on the pitch that misses outside to the righty.
Technically, as you said, she can be in the utility slot after playing some first base yesterday.
These are coaches' aces that they can hold in their back pocket, that when you're the opposition coming in to face off against a team, okay, where are we going to see number 23 today?
Almost a certainty you'll see her hitting third.
Gets herself into a really good hitter's count at 3-1. McDonald with a 347 batting average, but 62 RBIs to go along with it. Takes a strike.
And I think
Count goes full to the designated player, trying to avoid having this be a 1-2-3 inning. And it will be just that. Emotion coming from Izzy Garcia as she shouts to home plate after a strikeout blows away Grace McDonald. Scoreless in Oxford. Off against the Lady Dragons. Dragons, you see the defense led by a strong infield. And Jalen Flores has been very impressive at first base after breaking her hand early on in the season, has really come out strong and shown why she's such a big piece of this defensive squad as this ball blasted to right field. Ends up going foul for an 0-1 count. And Isabel Garcia announces herself with a little bit of authority. Pitcher was already fired up heading into the dugout. Tell this one means a little bit more to her. She pitched and hit against this Paris Dragons team in the second game of their doubleheader back in March. Went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs in that game. That was against Grace McDonald. Trying to start the fireworks for the Temple Leopards as they want another rematch after this one, as they're looking to try and get a little bit of headway going into a matchup with Florida Southwestern. Got to win here to do it, though, as that ball bounces in.
You've gotten to see Temple, and this is irregular because of the scheduling. I haven't before the Final Four. Have you been more impressed with Garcia in the circle or at the plate?
In the circle for sure. Her pitching has been absolutely dominant. Hasn't necessarily really been able to get off and loose, but does here as she loops this one out over the top of second base. Ornelas can't really do much about it as that one just had too much pace to it. Get a quick look at what exactly Temple's done this year. Finished 4th in the nation. 7th in extra base hits and in batting average as a squad. As a courtesy runner will come in for Temple. And number 6 is going to step into the game, who is not on any of our rosters. So we will try to identify her. As up to the plate, Angie De Leon will step in instead to take her cuts. De Leon, designated player, shows bunt, and that one's going to get pushed foul. De Leon this year on the season, a sophomore, batting .308. Played in 57 games, starting 46 on the season. And the pitch misses low and away, as the count will move to 2-1. Little blooper. Takes a bounce in front. Quick reactions over at shortstop. Esmeralda Soto showing off the leather a little bit and the reflexes. Good cover by Ornelas with a runner charging towards her, and out number one is going to be a fielder's choice.
Hugely impressed with the middle infield for this Paris team. Soto in particular, just she has that internal clock in her head. She knows when she has to get rid of the ball.
They have played incredible defense all tournament long so far. Only gave up 2 runs to McLennan in the opener, 3 runs to Northwest Florida in an upset victory that knocked out the defending national champions from the winner's bracket. Lost to Northeast Alabama late, but kept up with the Mustangs, only allowing 4 runs, and we've seen how potent that offense is. And then only gave up 5 to Odessa with some of those late, but they can't get everything. Is slipping a ball through. Marley Kennedy sends it to the fence, and the Leopards send her to third. Ahead of her scoring is Angie De Leon.
I just talked about how good Soto has been. The only way they got that ball through is because they had Soto rushing one way to try and cover the base, and the ball went the other way, so she couldn't glove it, and it was going so hard it got all the way to the wall. Watch this. She shades slightly to second base, and that's just enough to get it by her on the backhand side, and it's a long run for Brandy Phillips.
And going on contact, De Leon knew she had to hustle into second. She just kept that momentum going. Another one blooped out to left field. That's going to slip its way past a reaching glove from Brandy Phillips, and a double following the triple makes it 2-0 Leopards.
Well, that really escalated quickly, Caleb.
Comes at you quick, and that's something that the Leopards have done a couple of times to this Paris team. Both of those games, Paris had the lead on Temple early, an 8-run top of the 5th inning in the 11-3 win for Temple, and then a 4-run, I believe, the 2nd inning. They ended up jumping out in front of Paris, and now trying to calm this team down, Shelby Shelton taking a walk out to the circle.
You're right. It was the 3rd inning for whoever's counting at home, who's going to try and come at Caleb on Twitter. Don't, all right? It was the 3rd, but he's right. There was an advantage held by Paris, and listen, perhaps some things have changed since March the 2nd. You would expect confidence built on both sides, but overturning an advantage, I think one thing that can identify a championship caliber team.
And now the Leopards saying, we don't want you guys to even have a foothold assaulting the Dragons early on. Lexi Dudechka is Cambiano, the player in center field being DP'd for by the Leopards. Dudechka lined out to the pitcher her first time up, sent one that would have probably been destined for center field if it hadn't been for a quick glove from Haddison Fultz. He's an 0-1 count. And shows bunt, as that one is going to be sent to the backstop as she slaps the hands together, thinking she had a chance to try and push one out there to a charging third base. Only 1 out, and that was on a fielder's choice. And that one was nearly a base knock as well.
Yep.
After Soto was the only reason why that one was kept from finding some holes. 0-2 though. Fultz kind of regained control of this inning. Misses on a chase pitch up and away. Foltz took the loss in that 11-3 game, got roughed up for 8 earned runs against this Temple team. She's turned her season around since then. Has become an incredibly potent weapon, but Dudechka is able to slip one past her, and even the glove of Soto with the quick reflexes and release can't get the speedy Dudechka down the line.
Soto covers for a lot, but you're looking maybe for just a little bit better attempt to field the position there from Foltz in the circle. It's tough because she lands in a particular spot, and getting the glove to where the ball went, not easy.
Runners on the corners. And now the bigger bats for Temple College start striding forward. Benavidez singled on a laced ball back up the middle. Was left at third base after Riley Litchfield flew out to right field. Batting for the second time in as many innings. And that one misses low as she gets back even to the count at 1-1. Benavidez, a second-year Leopard, has been their primary shortstop since back in March 2025. Hasn't moved around at all. The cousin of Angie De Leon. And a track star as well for these Leopards. This looks like some conversations being had. Katie Berlin-George saying something to her dugout. Berlin-George has taken a Temple team that was already on the national stage and turned them into a powerhouse this year, trying to get them into a national championship game. Needs to win 2 today to do so. That one in foul territory ends up hitting Brooklyn Walton. It's a good thing she was standing wide of the bag to the left, not inside of the field of play. As she's in foul territory when that one kicks. Great call by our home plate umpire.
Casey Rager had it tough right there.
Pitch low, runner takes off, throw goes back to third as Temple will take advantage. Dudechka now puts herself into scoring position. Pitch ended up missing as the count goes to 2-2. Takes away the force play at second. Now you got to make more decisions if you're the Dragons defense. Already 2 runs across this frame. And a full count with Reese Cottrell waiting in the on-deck circle. And Cottrell with 76 RBIs, I'm sure foaming at the mouth for an opportunity. 3-2. Fouled away. Good fight by Benavidez.
You know, we've talked, Caleb, during this tournament about how long the leash is or isn't and whether it retracts in certain moments. I don't think Addison Foltz has more than 3 batters left on this leash.
She's had her moments of ups and downs, and especially when you think to the confidence as well of a starter. This ball blasted to left, but a good job of tracking that into the glove is going to see Phillips put that one away. She'll get it in quickly enough to hold the runner at second and Dudechka, but coming home on the sac fly, Brooklyn Walton makes it 3-0. And the Leopards with a trifecta here in the top of the second inning.
Good positioning by Phillips out there in left field. Hit well, could certainly have been worse. She's got to get one more out here for Foltz to get back to the dugout.
Now with the lefty, she'll shift back to a little bit more of a regular position, and Cottrell will not challenge her. She grounds this one to second, but damage done. A triple, a double, a single, and 3 runs. 14th in the national poll. And they can swing the bats, and one of those who is just starting to heat up on the year is Jalen Flores after missing most of the season. Picked up her first RBIs of the season in their win over Odessa. Pops up and will be a quick out number 1 as Izzy Garcia continues to control this one. 4 up, 4 down to begin things here in This elimination, I guess you'd call it semifinal number 1 in the elimination bracket.
Sure.
Trying to trim it down to just 3 teams left in the field. And Temple College has been here plenty of times before as a swing and a miss from Christy McGuire, the leader in the nation in home runs, who enters today with 29.
Definitely weird in a double elimination format where you don't know what to call it. It's like a third semifinal?
Third.
What? Huh?
We'll have to work on that name. We'll put it up to a vote in the press box at some point in time. I'm sure somebody has a name somewhere out there for it. McGuire trying to get comfortable, giving no breathing room from Garcia. 1-2 count to the native from White House, Texas, and she'll get sent back to the dugout. And Garcia, I love this about her. I've seen it from her, but this is the most animated I've seen her in any game yet. As every single out, she has somebody that she's going to look at. As we take a look at the defense for the Leopards behind her, and that outfield is impressive. Lexi Dudechka in right field can cover anything, and her coaches say she can play any position, and Cottrell and Walton easily up there with her.
Very interested to see in a tournament full of great outfielders how Dudechka handles right field in this cavernous park.
1-1 count to Casey Gobert. Catcher for Paris Junior College. And the Dragons trying to avoid going 1-2-3 for a second time. As you said, Garcia with quite a bit of success the last time that she faced off against Paris Junior College. Got touched up for 2 runs in that game. 3 runs, excuse me, but went the distance, striking out 7. Gave up a home run, but I feel like at this point in time, what team that the Dragons have played has not given up a home run to them. She gets to a 2-2 count, 2 away. Make it full. Second full count she's already seen. And Garcia's one, she's not going to blow you away with quick innings and low pitch counts. She will work through it. But when it comes down to knuckling in and really focusing in, she finds a way to not give up the easy outs.
And I think one of the more interesting things about these 4 teams is their roster constructions and how they vary. Garcia is from Troy, Texas, which is 8 2/10 of a mile from Temple. So they didn't have to go far to find an ace to lead them to the World Series. Angie De Leon, 9.7 miles away in Belton. You've got Riley Litchfield and Lexi Dudechka, both from Salado, Texas, which I think is 6.9 miles away. Maybe 16 miles away? Yeah, 16. That's my handwriting.
Shot foul. Just past the Leopards' dugout. Keeps the count full. We'll see a 9th pitch to this at-bat.
I say all that to say it's a stark contrast to what you see from like a Florida Southwestern that recruits internationally, whereas Texas finds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starters from basically within a bike ride.
Adds to some team unity, I'm sure, in trying to put together a team that you have to find a way to gel quick. Paris Junior College needing to find a way to settle the nerves on the defensive side after they got ambushed by the Leopards with the first 5 of the top of the second inning scoring, or reaching base rather. Ratu will step in, try and lead off another jump. She walked her first time up on 4 pitches and still has yet to see a strike from Haddison Foltz, who, Tyler, we were just talking about this. It's got to be a little bit of a shorter leash.
I would imagine, given the exit velocity we saw from those batters who had the consecutive hits back in the second, Shelby Shelton's keeping a closer watch on Haddison Foltz.
It's tough, though, when you have a All-American from last year in the circle. This ball hit well but pulled foul. It's tough not to give them their due and a chance to try and pull in, but you're in an elimination game where you don't have it tomorrow.
Right. It's not as though Foltz doesn't know what she's being counted on for, right? I think in part because she knows what the standard is for being an All-American, she has a very keen sense of what she is or isn't doing here. And at this point, given having reached All-American status, right, like that's already on your resume, and a championship isn't, I think you're willing to do things that need to be done in pursuit of that trophy.
Still struggles to find the zone as the count goes to 3-1, and another walk. As Ratu has only seen one pitch in the zone, she took a cut at it. She'll get on base anyways. Take a look over at Katie Berlin-George. 6th season as the head coach, played some junior college ball herself up a few states away at Pratt College in Kansas. Coached her alma mater before getting the job at Temple. Come to a program where the diamond sports mean a lot at Temple, not just on the baseball diamond, but the softball field too. And a little bit of that comes when you have an athletic director who's a former Major League Baseball player and a former National League Rookie of the Year. It's got to be comfortable to coach in that type of an environment.
Now, I didn't look and see who it was that leads their athletic department. Am I going to be shocked by the name that I hear, or am I going to actually know it?
You probably won't know the name.
Okay.
Craig McMurtry out of Troy, Texas. Was actually the National League runner-up, I want to clarify that, but it actually was somebody that folks in this area would probably be well known with, as he was drafted by the Braves 4th overall in 1980.
How about that? Good looking out by you.
He's done his part with the baseball program to keep them in line. And Coach Berlin-George, just the 3rd coach in the 28-year history of Temple softball, has done her part to make sure that stays in line. She was a 2-time NJCAA All-American while at Pratt Community College. Went on to play at Ottawa in Kansas. The count goes full to Riley Litchfield, 3-2, and Haddison Foltz trying to avoid another walk.
The only McMurtry that I know with a Texas tie is Larry McMurtry, who's a novelist and no longer with us, but I think he's a Pulitzer Prize winner at some point. Wrote Lonesome Dove, The Last Picture Show, a couple others. Well known in that state. Don't know if Craig's related or not. Good name to have.
Fouled away again. Good battle being put up by Litchfield. After flying out to right field on the first pitch, she's about to see an 8th pitch in this at-bat. Litchfield, just a freshman, alternates behind home plate as well as playing third base with Kaya Ratu. And was a second-team infielder, so that shows you just how good she is at both positions. In her conference awards, as another foul ball stays at 3-2 again.
You know, Caleb, the last time we had a series of foul balls hit hard like this left side, I think you remember it. Merritt Willicke went yard for Odessa.
Well, that's not going to happen on this one, as that ball is going to end up missing in the dirt. Litchfield draws another walk, and Izzy Garcia will have one more shot against Foltz, it looks like, as Coach Shelton is going to leave it up to Casey Gobert to go out and have the conversation first with Haddison Foltz.
I do think Grace McDonald is waiting in the wings here. You cannot afford a big mistake here. I think you're going to be very careful with Izzy Garcia. Fultz has got to find a way to get a ground ball. That's what her strength is.
Bunt put down the third baseline. Garcia, it's a good one. She can't beat it out, but the sacrifice is successful to put a few more runs up in scoring position. Ratu moves her way to third, Litchfield to second. Angie De Leon, who grounded into a fielder's choice her first time, will try to follow up the most valuable player's performance, laying it down and make that bunt count. Popped up, shallow right center. That's going to touch down in the triangle, and the Leopards add another on a leg double from De Leon.
You can't do it much better than that. As soon as that ball gets hit, it looked like it was going to be trouble for Christy McGuire to get there. She was playing so deep in right field, and I'm not saying she was ill-positioned. It just fell in the right spot. What you wish there is, I don't know if we'll see the replay for long enough, but the throw comes in to Jalen Flores. It looks like she's in position, if she doesn't think about it, to go to second base and get the runner there. But I think it still could have been a close play.
And heads-up awareness by De Leon to realize the throw wasn't going to second, but to cut off and take the extra base. Never stopped running on the way around. That's why they always tell you, circle first. Don't just stop on the bag. Give yourself that momentum going forward to keep running. Marley Kennedy, who tripled her first time up, that opened this scoring with a bang, will hit it to the same spot, a bit more carry, but that touches down. Runs to the warning track. It's only a double, but plates a pair. Marley Kennedy throwing her name into the conversation for outfielders for all tournament team. As she says, don't forget about the Leopards. We got a stacked house out here. First pitch swing, and once again, doesn't do too much with it. Hang time, and as you've talked about it, a cavernous outfield.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because you saw how hard Riley Rowland was digging to try to get to that ball in the gap, and she knew she couldn't quite get there even with a dive, so she had to slow up a little bit so that Phillips could go and cover behind her. And now you've got a very difficult decision if you're Shelby Shelton.
He's just coming out to have a conversation so far with Fulton. Or Fultz, excuse me.
You've only got one out, which is the issue because there's a runner at second base, so there's no double play available to you. I think it's kind of Brooklyn Walton or bust at this point.
At some point in time, you got to start sweating a little bit and just this game suddenly being shortened up. The ambush has made it 6-0 already, only one out. You still have a runner in scoring position. Walton doubled her last time up and scored as well. And then you flip it over to a top of the order that so far is 2 for 3 in the top two. In fact, everybody on the team with a trip on base except Reese Cottrell. We're just in the top of the third inning as a bunt put down. Walton trying to push it down towards third, ends up seeing it go foul back behind the catcher. Ambush tactics is the best way to say it, too. The last three batters have been first pitch swinging prior to that bunt, and the bunt, I guess, counts as first pitch swinging as well.
So to speak.
She'll slap this towards second. A little bit of a bobble on the way to first, and just ending up making the play is Jace Ornelas.
That's good concentration from Ornelas. We've actually seen quite a few of those, I feel like, from her in this tournament, where she'll catch the ball and it won't be clean, but she'll knock it down and basically smother it, but she picks it up in time to get the out there. Critical.
Up to third base goes Kennedy with Dudechka, who singled her last time up. Stole a base, was left at second though. She'll slap this up the middle. That's going to be kept from going into the outfield, but with the speed of Dudechka, no chance, and another run's plated. 7-0 Leopards.
It's bad luck. Just a bit too high for the glove of Haddison Fultz, and I think this is going to be all for the Paris starter.
And it will. Pitching change coming up here in Oxford. The Leopards have found their roar. We head to a new arm with McDonald taken to the circle.
In 6 this year, 77 Ks and 149 innings of work. So not necessarily somebody who's going to blow it by you.
Faces off against Benavidez to lead things off for the Leopards and gets a first pitch strike over the outside corner. Benavidez has a sac fly, an RBI, and a single going back to the first inning. Sophomore. Hails from Terrell, Texas.
26.4 miles away from the Temple campus.
Another local player.
7 of the starters for this Temple team.
Count goes in. Oh, late hand up by the home plate umpire. Pulls that one in for a strike as it goes to 1-2. Benavidez, first team all-conference, was the defensive player of the year. Trying to put her name up for an offensive award too. Ends up lining it, good contact, but finds the glove in right field of Christy McGuire. 4 more for the Leopards as they continue to dominate the 7-0 run for Temple over Paris early on. 3 in the second, 4 in the third, as Coach Shelby Shelton with her work cut out for her to try and guide the Dragons back. She will look to the bottom of the order. Segura, Fultz, Nornellas, a scheduled grouping. They have still yet to record their first hit in this game. That ball fouled away and the count goes to 1-1. Impressive work from Izzy Garcia in the circle.
You know, one thing I noticed, Caleb, looking back on the 2 games that they had back in March, Delaney Exeter, Reese Cottrell pitched 1. Garcia pitched the other. And no Paris hitter had a good game both times. They kept them off balance at least once between the 3 of them. So the fact that Garcia has the institutional knowledge built up to do this is not surprising.
Spoiled foul on the 2-2. Segura stays alive. She struck out the last 2 batters. And I have to continue to just talk about the emotion, but controlling that emotion too and focusing back in, letting it out after you get an out, but then returning yourself back into to go for love of the game, clearing the mechanism when you step out there into the circle. Challenges the inside of Segura, and she battles that away.
And we made the point, I made the point earlier about just how many contributors for Temple come from close by, 7 within an hour's range. It's not the same for Paris, and it's part because of where Paris is. I mean, it's on the very northeastern border of Texas. It's just not as many people up that way.
Shot back through. There's some life for the Dragons. They get their first base runner of the day with a leadoff single. Segura trying to give them something to build on for Coach Shelby Shelton, who's been in this situation before as a player. 5th season now as a head coach, but she got her teeth started at Howard College out there in Region 5, team that will finish 9th at the national tournament in 2012. Won the Western Junior College Athletic Conference and had 53 victories when she was there. As now Fultz comes away with a single. That's a good way to make yourself feel better after having some struggles, saying, all right, I still can contribute to this team. And important for her, too, to take that step forward and not get down on herself, because you're still a part of this order.
It's the best medicine in terms of reminding you about how you can compartmentalize 2 different performances, hitting and pitching, and they don't have to be tied together. And one can cover for the other. And I think Fultz right there, given the opportunity to mash one, does so through the right side. Sets up Temple well, at least to get something started. You don't have to do all of it in this inning, right? Chances are you won't. But critically, get a couple so that if they get a couple next time they're up, it's not going to mean doomsday for you come the end of the 5th inning.
Now, if you're Garcia, this is the first time you've battled a little bit of adversity. Facing some early pressure, bunt shown, pulled back, and the ball kicks past the catcher. And that's going to end up being 2nd and 3rd, and I think that's got to go as a pass ball. So 2nd and 3rd after a little bit of a lapse of concentration, either by Garcia or by her backstop, Ratu. And now all of a sudden, the Dragons don't have to use the bunt anymore for their number 9 batter, and Jace Ornelas on the season batting .280. Does have 16 RBIs, but also has an on-base percentage of .388. So someone who can get on base herself and continue to stack this on to get things turned over to the top of the lineup where Brandy Phillips is waiting. Seen the bottom of the order play such a big role, Tyler, throughout this series. And right now for the Dragons, they're trying to spark some life. Ornelas will see it go back even as she takes a healthy cut, 1-1.
Still got to stay within yourself. Be the same hitter you've been. Look for the things you've looked for.
Ornelas out of Amarillo. I think that's something about this Paris team, though. You talk about them being on the northeast corner. They still recruit Texas. Only one player from this team not from the state of Texas.
But when you look at how far some of these players have to go to get to Paris, I mean, Kingsville, where Silguero is from, is all the way at the bottom. I mean, it's like an 8-hour trip and you're in the same state. Good patience.
Loaded.
Outstanding patience. You know who you are. You can't get it all back at once. Go and see if you can work a walk. And Ornelas does.
Well, this is what you come back to with a coach from Shelton who's been at the Division I level at a good program in Louisiana Tech. She's going to come talk with our home plate umpire, get a courtesy runner or pinch runner as Aubrey Watkins, the freshman of Royce City.
Royce City with a pretty incredible high school football stadium. I believe it's 10,000 plus in the Grand Canyon. I mean, you drive by it on the way towards Dallas, it stands out. I think they're the Bulldogs. I've done that drive west from Memphis to Dallas a few times, and I'm pretty sure I remember Royce City.
Bases juiced for the top of the order. Brandy Phillips moves it to 1-0. I think something else about this team from Paris, too, they keep things loose. I was scrolling through their social media this morning. They're a team that has involved the Oxford community in their time that they've been here. Their bus driver, in fact, this ball grounded back to short. Great play as coming back home with the ball is Jasmine Benavidez for the 6-2. And the fielder's choice will keep the bases loaded, but keep the Dragons scoreless.
Now keep an eye on the foot here of right to. I think it stayed on long enough that she was able to glove the ball. I thought initially on first look she took the foot off before she caught it.
Quick conversation again as we'll probably get another pinch runner, and we will, as this time it's going to be Fultz who's going to be lifted over at third. Madeline Welch, who we've seen multiple times out of Pasadena, Texas, heads over to third base to take her place. Going back to what I was saying, though, the Dragons, they were singing happy birthday to their bus driver.
Wow.
They sang happy birthday to 3 random people at the restaurant that they had dinner at last night. They know how to keep an upbeat vibe with this group and know how to have fun. Love the logo that they have and the saying that they have on all of their graphics, on all the t-shirts you see walking around. Leave it better. And I think that goes to the program, but I think that also leads to the inning that you move into of be in a better position after the previous inning than where you were one inning ago.
That's an old scouting maxim, if I'm not mistaken. Like, leave a campsite better than you found it, so to speak.
1-1 to Benavidez. Excuse me, Soto. It was Esmeralda. Gets herself a hitter's count. That one misses. Flew out to center field her first time up on a high pop-up. Garcia trying to work out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam. That's gonna see her get some help from her friends, leaving third base early as she didn't pay attention to the ball being caught. Welch thought it was guaranteed to drop down, and a base running error helps the Leopards through. Bases loaded, none out. Temple escapes with a 7-0 lead still intact.
As a pinch runner or pinch hitter and know what not to do, and that's what Madeline Welch violated, unfortunately.
He's Tyler Springs. I'm Caleb Burgraff, as Reese Cottrell will lead things off after she was the only batter that did not get a chance to take any cuts in the last inning. Temple has sent 7 to the plate in the second inning, 8 to the plate in the third. Now a new arm. Grace McDonald trying to slow down the sprinting Leopards. Cottrell's first time up, grounded out to third, grounded out to second. Her last time. She is still the only Leopard not to get on base. Takes a strike as it goes to 2-2. Played her high school time with the second baseman Kylie Cambiano at Franklin. Also can pitch a little bit. As you mentioned, she pitched in the game against Paris, one of the two, and now she does get that base knock. Another leadoff base runner for the third straight inning. And a critical runner, too, because down 7-0. They're going to courtesy run for her, or pinch run for her, rather, as the Leopards know that that one is the one that could shorten this up. And if you have a second game today, and you don't have time to rest between that second game, if you can quicken this game up a little bit, that's only going to benefit you, as Autumn Simmons will step in to be the new member of the Leopards to see some time on the field out of Cypress, Texas.
No better time to go in as a pinch runner than after the pinch runner before you just made a big mistake, because everybody knows the situation after that.
Right down the boulevard, Ratu takes that one. Yet to have an official at bat. A walk on 4 pitches and a walk on 5 pitches against Haddison Fultz. Takes upstairs as it goes to 1-1.
And believe it or not, Ratu maybe not the one you would think to be taking pitches, but she has. It's the top 3 in the order: Dudechka, Benavidez, Cottrell, who have 25+ walks each. But I think the bottom of the order has shown some patience in a great way here in the Final Four.
Count goes to 2-2.
Grace McDonald coming into this game, 13 innings of work and a 2.15 ERA here at the World Series. She's been pretty great. Lower than her season-long ERA. Has had to do it while also still contributing in massive ways to the Dragon offense. And I think balancing that load, it wears on you.
She's been the key behind multiple wins, though, for this Dragons team. And a team that, as you said, has had to pull a little bit of magic out at times. McLennan, they were down coming into the final chances of that game. Got a 3-2 win. but they have not been in a deficit like this yet in this tournament. Meanwhile, Temple, it's almost the opposite, outside of a blip against Florida Southwestern. As this ball hit towards third, tough try on a dive to her left, as Trinity Silguera able to keep it from going to the outfield and maybe keep Simmons from moving up to third base on the play. But either way, back-to-back singles. And runners now push themselves into scoring position with Litchfield up to the plate. 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored as she takes time.
She's the lone holdout, Caleb. She's the only one in this Leopard lineup that doesn't have a hit yet.
It's a Leopards team, too, that saw the month of May not go their way offensively like they had in the early seasons. February, they batted .388. March, they batted .416. April, they batted .390. In May, it dropped all the way to .330. So they've been waiting for the offense to come back to life. Definitely has in this game, and definitely did against Santa Fe. Bunt shown, another called strike, moves it to 0-2.
Dare I guess a little bit, that's impacted by the level of quality they face and the quick succession in which they face it, too, in postseason tournaments.
Good job holding off on that pitch as Grace McDonald threw a tasty one on the outside. Another foul ball. That's something the Leopards have been doing a good job of at the plate so far, is battling with 2 strikes. Because once they've gotten to a 2-strike count, that is the 6th time that they've had one foul off a pitch they didn't like. And these extended at bats, and it's not necessarily the fatigue, it's the frustration that you guide to a pitcher.
Can it be both?
It can. Check swing, appeal to third, no swing, and we've got a full count. Litchfield saw 9 pitches on the walk that she earned in the last inning. She's already seen 6 in this one. This was after a 1-pitch, 1-out. Her first time up, chops it to third. Smart play by Segura. Fires to first, and a short hop is going to end up in just off of the heel of the glove by Flores. No errors. You can't anticipate the double play, but the Leopards able to avoid seeing the twin killing on the 5 fielder's choice.
Lucky break there, but handled well by Silguera at third. She got at least the first out that she needed to get on that play, though it could have been even better. They'll take it.
Moves it along to Izzy Garcia, pitcher for the Leopards, who is a single. Was cut down on a fielder's choice in the second inning and grounded on a bunt. Her second time up for a sacrifice is 1 for 1 officially. Hits this one well to left center. That's going to touch down and 1 hop to the fence. The Leopards roll another 2 towards the plate, and with the throw up the line, Garcia takes an extra base to third. That goes into left field. It's a Little League home run for Izzy Garcia. Double digits on the board for Temple.
And the curse of positioning is what hurts right there. Moments before that pitch is thrown, Paris shifts their outfield with Rowland shaded a little bit toward the gap in right center. If she had stayed where she was, she's got a couple more feet on that ball. I think it makes a difference in her getting to it first before Brandy Phillips. And maybe it changes the play. Regardless, this is where you so often run into trouble, is you throw it one too many times and wildly when it's not needed.
Sometimes you just got to eat it, but you're trying to make a play as the Dragons gather together in the center of the circle.
And what's hard at this moment, Caleb, regardless of what the traditional wisdom says, that it's very hard to beat a team all the times you face them in a season, sometimes the other feeling is the same too, where if you've been beaten twice and soundly, it can feel like, well, this is a hump we'll never get over.
Angie De Leon with the bases clear will try to start it all over again. It's the engine just idling for the Leopards. A 10 spot here in the elimination game in the runs column. And more crooked numbers than you'd like to see if you're from Paris. De Leon fouls it off of her shoulders. Doubled and scored, as well as brought home a run her last time up. She's batting for the 3rd consecutive inning. On the bottom of the order, how about 4 for 6 with 4 extra base hits, 3 doubles and a triple.
We said it before, we'll say it again. So often the top of your order determines your team's floor, and the bottom of the order is the thing that puts the limit on it, the ceiling on where your team can go. And right now, the ceiling is being raised at bat after at bat by the Leopards in the lower half.
And if you add in that full lower half and make it the bottom 4 with Izzy Garcia, they're now 6 for 9. And they've been responsible for 6 runs. It's not the typical table setters, but the top's been just as good. Everybody has reached base. Only Litchfield without a base hit, but she's been on base and scored 2 runs with a walk and a fielder's choice. This one hit sharply right to short. Soto there with the glove. And Marley Kennedy will try to continue to move towards a cycle for herself. 3rd, a triple and a double already. 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Puts a bunt down, speeds to first, but pulling that one in and making a strong throw. Gobert says not anymore. Damage already done. The Dragons facing a massive mountain to come back first time up. And when you're looking up at a mountain, it's best to start with the foothills when you're trying to climb up. It's thought that the Dragons were going to be doing that in the last frame when they loaded the bases with nobody out, but Tyler, a base running miscue, but you can't be thinking about that.
No, you have to put each inning and each at bat away unless the information helps you react better the next time. But like you mentioned, the only way to eat the elephant at this point is 1 bite at a time.
3-0, that'll help.
Now, I said at the top of this broadcast that Grace McDonald was in the running for a DP slot in the all-tournament team. I think Izzy Garcia has risen to the occasion in that category.
It's going to be tough to figure out, does she get a DP spot or a pitcher spot? She's had on her way to potentially her 4th victory. Misses outside. And a trip down to first base for Grace McDonald for the 2nd straight inning. The Dragons will get a leadoff runner on. Just the 2nd walk surrendered by Garcia. But both have come in these last couple of frames. And you do wonder a little bit with another game on deck against Florida Southwest, assuming that you stay where you're at in this game, as the Dragons definitely not done yet. We've seen their power get them back into plenty of games as Jalen Flores steps in. She'll hit this one into center field. Easy work for Marley Kennedy, who puts it away. But you do almost have to wonder, at some point in time, do you send Garcia back out for the 5th inning of this one with a big lead, or do you preserve some of that energy for another game where she only faced 2 batters in that game against Florida Southwestern? She's the only pitcher that really has not seen the Buccaneers moving forward. Do you try to give her an extra bit of time to rest up for that game?
It's a good question. I have an answer for you. My answer is yes. I'll go one step further. Since you've seen the Leopards before, who is your pick to replace her for a closing inning?
I feel like you have to go with Reese Cottrell to still make sure you get through it cleanly. And Garcia can still stay out on the field, as she could move over to first base, and we've seen that before in this game, or in this series. Flied foul by Christy McGuire. She's a batter that could get some momentum back for the Dragons, as she does have power that can leave the yard and power that can be sent up over the top of those bleachers. She wanted to try, I'm sure, to send something out to those 2 fans sitting out in center field. Head coach Shelby Shelton talking things over.
If you're sitting out in center field on a day like this where it is blinding sunshine, and boy, are we grateful for it. Shout out to both of you and the umbrellas, which are, I believe, correctly positioned at an angle so that the rays don't hit them and cook them to extra crispy. I think you deserve a home run to the back of the bleachers. And I think Christy McGuire, of the available choices, would be the one to deliver at this moment. So
now, I'm sure, judging by the fan that I saw waving there, I don't think those 2 fans would want a home run hit out to them by Christy McGuire.
Who cares what the fans want?
I think I saw a leopard print on one of those 2 on the fan being waved. But
yeah, but then we get the cinema of them throwing it back on the field.
She'll drive this one, though, out to left, to the fence, off the top of the wall. She'll cruise into second, having to hold to make sure it wasn't caught, is Grace McDonald. A loud double, just as held by the yard.
Well, I'm disappointed in Grace McGuire, honestly. Or Christy McGuire. No, it's a great piece of hitting. I have been impressed with the first step for this outfield. Walton, Kennedy, and Dudechka. I know Walton didn't glove that one, but was at least tracking it back to the wall in a way where she could get close. It is hard with these dimensions to be able to cover ground, but I think that is part of the design of her outfield for Coach B for Temple, to have 3 quick-footed outfielders out there. And you saw that they recovered on that ball pretty quickly so that the runner did not get home. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. McGuire's doing her job. That's as much as she can do. And that's the message for every successive Paris batter.
Dragons will send up Casey Gobert. Struck out, but saw 9 pitches her last time up. And she was the last punch-out victim for Garcia, who has struck out 3, but has not struck out any since the 2nd inning, when she had a no-hitter going at the end of that frame. That was quickly erased in the on-deck circles bat. Trinity Silguero was able to get a single. First one is a foul ball by Gobert to the right side. Freshman batting .366 entering the game. She's also got pop. 15 home runs on the season, 31 extra base hits with 65 RBIs. Has started and played in all 63 games for the Dragons this year. One of only 2 players who can say that they started in every game. And that's the catcher.
That's awesome.
She'll shoot this to right. line drives, going to hang up long enough to be tracked down by Dudechka, and coming home to score will be McDonald to get the first run onto the board. So if you've erased the 0, but you need at least 2 more in order to avoid this one being shut down early to give yourselves more time.
Hit it where it's pitched. Good effort there for Gobert. Hit it plenty deep as well to get McDonald in.
Smart on the Leopards, too, to go to the cutoff, not try to send that one to home, to make sure you keep McGuire back at second base with 2 outs. So Guerra gets ahead in the count with the first pitch that misses. And a nasty drop ball ends up finding the zone. So Guerra back to 1-1. She saw 8 pitches her last time up.
So Guerra's not going to beat you with raw power. It would only be the case if you get past her to Haddison Fultz, who's actually got 7 home runs on the season. So you don't have to be too fine if you're Izzy Garcia. You've already got her in a 1-2 hole.
She'll shoot this one just over a leaping glove. Trying to pull that one in. Benavidez sees it just get over the top and into left field for an RBI single. So Guerra sitting now at 2 for 2 on the day. Picks up a base knock. Now represents a very important run with 2 outs, but just did her job. You've said it so many times. I've said it so many times. Just keep the parade moving. That's going to end up hitting her on the elbow guard to send her down to first base. And Ornelas will step in. Bottom of the order still has yet to be retired for Paris and the Dragons. They're now 3 for 3, a hit batter and a walk. And we're going to thought we might have a courtesy runner coming in, as over with Shelton was talking with the home plate umpire for a moment. She's going to stay, and now we will get the, well, pinch runner was going to be Riley Rowland, who came 3 steps out of the dugout to start running towards first, and instead it is going to be a pinch hitter with Peyton Peck, sophomore out of Argyle, Texas.
Peck's had plenty of reps in this World Series and this season. She was, again, the first baseman in Jalen Flores' place when Flores was hurt, so she could swing it.
Takes the first pitch for a ball with 2 outs. Dragons in the midst of a rally. Peck takes low again. 305 hitter on the season. You said it, Tyler. 9 home runs for her through the course of those at-bats, with 23 extra base hits, 42 RBIs.
No time like the present.
Takes low for a strike. Now 2-2. Good response after falling behind 2-0 by Garcia.
Once again, not oversimplifying, but just something to the outfield. They're playing plenty deep.
Just what the doctor ordered. A diving try out in right field is going to come up just a bit short. First to third by Haddison Fultz on some good base running, and 3 runs for the Leopards make it 10-3.
Love how Jace Ornelas has played within herself this game. And I think that goes actually to Fultz and Silguero, that bottom third of the order that you just mentioned. They have been excellent about just taking what is offered offensively and turning it into something positive. And I don't necessarily mind the dive from Marley Kennedy there as long as she's getting the backup from Dudetska in right field. You're trying to make that play so that a run does not score.
Pitching change coming up as Leopards are going to end up making the move to Cottrell over at first. Garcia will swap out with her. We'll find out the numbers on Cottrell when we come back. Sophomore from Franklin, Texas, just swapping positions, making a move about 30 feet to her right.
Not easy to do, though, in a game where things have tightened up considerably. A 222 earned run average this year in 69 1/3 innings. Does have 45 punch-outs, so a little bit of blow it past your ability.
Pause taken, home plate umpire making sure everybody was set and ready as the top of the order, and Brandy Phillips will step in. Also coming back in, I should say, is Madeline Welch at third, or she did for a moment. Now they pulled her back. She had gone out and replaced Fultz for a moment.
And we've got, I think, a pinch hitter actually, quietly as it's kept. Phillips got swapped out for Isabella Jeter, who did have a 2-hit game against Temple back in March.
Takes a pitch low. And Jeter will see the count go to 1-1.
Cottrell's got a little movement on that. And as a lefty, kind of a rarity, especially in this tournament. Really good to have that in your arsenal if you're Katie Berlin George.
Not only to have a first baseman that's a lefty, but also to be able to have her to be able to throw in many regards. Again, just to change the sight line of where a batter is seeing the ball come from out there in the circle. Gets some weak contact, back behind second, into no man's land. The Dragons get themselves another bloop, but the bloops are paying off to the tune of 4 runs. Back to a 6-run game.
Wouldn't you know it, the team that we've known for power for the entirety of the tournament and basically their whole season is trying to bloop the Leopards to death.
The loudest ball of this inning was the double by McGuire, which hit just underneath the white line on the outfield fences. As we will have a courtesy runner.
I think it's Phillips back in running in her spot after Jeter got on.
That is exactly what it is. And Soto will step in to take her cuts, as Esmeralda has flown out to center field twice today. 9th batter of the inning for the Paris Dragons. You talked about, too, the 2 ways that it can go when you're facing a team that you've played against before and you've had no success against them. I'm going to add a 3rd way it can go. You jump out into a lead and you start overlooking that team, saying we've had this team's number every time. As this ball blooped over to first, Garcia puts it to a close and an end as she shows her footwork off on the defensive side at first base. Puts it away, but the Dragons make when you thought it was safe to go get your dinner plans made.
It was not.
Temple College has suddenly seen the Dragons come soaring overhead. I'm sure there's a Game of Thrones reference in here, but I have not watched enough of that show to get one. As the Dragons defense taking some tunes from the offense, Soto, clean play over to first, Flores Fields, and 1 pitch, 1 out as we take a quick peek at the Temple College Leopards. Started classes in the basement of Temple High School when they got going in 1926. I think that's a similar story to a lot of two-year schools where, hey, we needed some extra education here out in this tiny little town or this tiny community. Where's a place that we can bring in a college professor where they can contribute to the community? And I know about 3 off the top of my head that have similar stories to that, including the school where I'm at right now, Northwest Mississippi. If you go back into theirs, it was the same discussion. And look at them now, on the verge of another trip to the top 3 in the country for the Temple Leopards on the softball diamond.
And now we're in an age where we've come full circle because kids are doing dual enrollment. They go to the community college while they're in high school. And good for them.
Dudechka battling. 2 for 3 on the day, facing an 0-2 count. Has an RBI single back in the 3rd inning. Singled in the 2nd, and despite all the runs that scored in those innings, she has yet to be brought home to score a run herself.
Shocking. Also surprised that nobody has had a hit in all 3 at-bats for Temple in this contest. But everybody has at least one.
Dudechka has been having quite the tournament, though. Ended up going 2 for 2 against CSI in the opener. Was perfect in that game with a run scored. Followed that up against Seminole State by going 2 for 3 with 2 runs and an RBI. Also had 2 walks. And even in the loss to Florida Southwestern, had one of the RBIs on an 0 for 3 day. So she's been having quite the tournament.
You're making a dent when you're not at your best, too. I think a mark of a really good player.
In fact, the only game where she has been held hitless, RBI-less, and runless was the 7-1 win against Santa Fe, where the rest of her team got things up and rolling. Works the count back to 2-2 after taking that pitch inside. 1 away, top of the 5th, 10-4. Chopped foul at home plate. Had to wait a moment to see if Casey Rager was going to call that one fair or foul, as that was good reactions from behind home plate, as I believe Gobert was very, very close. As the count actually 3-2. Sees Dudechka flare this one on a slap hit out to center field, and it's reeled in by Riley Rowland. And for the first time, the Leopards in danger of going 1-2-3.
It's pretty good for you to say that in the 5th inning.
Jasmine Benavidez also has a single. 1 for 2 officially, has a sacrifice fly. Was left at 3rd in the 1st inning. Shoots this one out to left, and it's a quick inning. Grace McDonald putting the kibosh on that one. Leopards have no answer to the 4 spot from the Dragons. And a first pitch strike from Cottrell, who came in relief, faced 2 batters, gave up an RBI single, but also was able to get a pop out to first from Esmeralda Soto in her first 3rd of an inning. Has an 0-2 count and tries to whir a rise ball past McDonald, but she lays off. Cottrell has been the reliever of choice, as you were looking up, Tyler.
He's come in a few times this tournament against Southern Idaho, against Seminole State, pitched against the #1 seed Florida Southwestern. Has not completed 3 innings in any of those appearances.
It's nice when you're a relief pitcher. The biggest award they won was Offensive Player of the Year.
How many can say that?
Go to Friday Night Lights. They can do this, they can do this, they can do this, and she can pitch. McDonald works it to 3-1, flares it to right. That's going to be a much more promising start for the Temple College Leopards in the bottom of the 5th inning than the bottom of the 4th after McDonald had walked to lead that inning off. Dudechka handles it easily. And Jalen Flores, who's 0 for 2 with a pop out and a fly out, will try to get her first trip onto the base paths. Flores, another one of those players. I love watching her animation out there on the field. Another one who wears her emotions on her sleeves in a positive way. As do all of these Dragons. Who have gotten a lot of support from the alumni that have played under Shelby Shelton these last couple of years, including some pre-tournament gift packages that included some batting gloves and gear that you can see her sporting there on her way down to first as that ball gets blasted into center field off of the glove of a diving try from Benavides at short.
Yeah, she's having fun with it. And frankly, in some ways, this season has been either longer for her or not as long, depending on which perspective you take. So it's in some ways just a blessing for her to be here and be playing.
Lilo Mayava is going to be the pinch runner. I knew she was going to come in at some point in time.
You knew it.
I knew my tongue was going to get twisted at some point in time. I feel like I survived. We'll see what Aya can do.
She's got one of those first names that's a palindrome. You can spell it forwards and backwards, and it's the same.
Out of Bedford, Texas. Trying to give Christy McGuire someone to bring home. McGuire nearly left the yard with her 30th home run of the season. Watches the first pitch strike as the count goes to 1-1. I think that drive from McGuire, as that one fouled off. I think that drive was really the spark that got some positive momentum in the dugout, and I think is the kind of poster child for hitting being contagious. Just barrel something up. And then the rest of the team, they might not barrel it up like you did, but we talked about the bloops that just start coming and falling in after that. Give you a positive feeling in the dugout. 2-2 delivery from Cottrell. Misses, and the count goes full. Winner of this game not done today, but the loser heads back to the hotel and loads up the bus. You can tell it means a lot, as each of these two teams wants to be the final team from Texas standing in the tournament.
And their
After
future
six
foes,
made the field.
Their future foes are already back, too. Florida Southwestern just now arriving back to the ballpark, taking in what's currently a 6-run margin.
Ball 4 outside.
You're right, though. I didn't want to bury the lead about what Paris and Temple are after here. They want to be the last one standing.
Golden green colors, by the way, for Paris. As you take a look at the BioBlast, established by a Baylor alum founder. As that is the rumor mill blasting to the point where it becomes history down at Paris, Texas. As we'll have another pinch runner in there. Krista Coy, the freshman out of Corpus Christi, will head on to the base paths. I like this from Shelby Shelton. She is not afraid to go deep when it comes to the individual assets that these players can bring to the team. Not only does she scour Texas for the talent, but she brings in people that are going to have different tools that they can use for the team. You don't want everybody on the team to be a power hitter, just like You don't want every pitcher to be a 90-mile-an-hour fastballer if you're a Major League Baseball team. You need the off speeds. You need the base stealers. You need the people who can bunt. A balanced team, and I think that gets lost in the power numbers of this Dragons team sometimes. Gobert with the 1-1 count. Popped up. Calling for it at second. And finishing off the play, Kylie Cambiano.
And here comes the most feared part of the order in this game. So Garrow with a pair of singles. Fultz behind her has reached with a single and a time hit by the pitch, and a walk for Ornelas along with a single.
And a called strike. Cottrell trying her hand at them for the first time, as all of that came against the starter, Izzy Garcia, who stands now at first base after a change in the last inning. Trying to put up a 0 after a 4 spot in the 4th inning. And this should do the trick, although the outfielders collide, holding on to the ball as she just won the race was Marley Kennedy, and Brooklyn Walton ended up taking what looked to be the worst for wear on that one. Good to see both of them all right, as Katie Berlin-George is going to head out and check on the two of them. But from her coach before sending the offense back out to the circle in the field, Reese Cottrell, Kaya Ratu, and Riley Litchfield, the scheduled 3 for the Leopards, as they look to try and pad a 10-4 lead, a little bit more going into these final 2 innings. Kayla Berggraf alongside of Tyler Springs. It's been an interesting game to say the least, Tyler, with a couple storylines.
Yeah, it's been back and forth.
Shot to short, and another line out handled by Esmeralda Soto.
It was a time where we thought Izzy Garcia was going to either finish the game at 5 or be subbed out after 4 in a game that the Leopards were in position to win by run rule at one point. And the hypothetical tower cards we built on that just came tumbling down with a 4-run bottom half of the 4th from a very game Paris side.
That West Texas wind doesn't let you really build anything too stable, as that one called a strike up high.
I don't think a lot of the Leopard faithful agree with that call on Ratu. Just at a guess.
This count goes to 1-2 on Ratu. She's yet to be retired. Single and 2 walks. She scored a pair of runs. In fact, she's been one of the fire starters for the Leopards. Stays alive.
I will say, I do think we're going to see some impact, potentially, to that collision between Kennedy and Walton in left field, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Shot towards short again. Soto being picked on, but she's up to the Chask. 6-3 on the putout. Flores not even tested on the cannon that comes across the field. And 2 outs quickly.
This is not a game where you can afford to have subpar outfield defense. So if either one of them is worse for wear, with Paris trying to come back, you're going to have a real thought about replacing Kennedy and Walton, especially if you want them in any kind of shape for the next game. Give them a little breathing time.
Litchfield swings and misses at the first pitch she sees.
It's like subbing out a strong player near the end of the quarter just to get them that elongated break in basketball.
Count it 1-1 to the third baseman for the Leopards. Chops it towards her counterpart. Seguro across the diamond. There's the out. We head to the bottom of the 6th. Ellis and Phillips, the scheduled 3, 8, 9, and 1 in the order for the Dragons, who are still fighting for their tournament lives. Although down by 6, Fultz gives one a ride, hooked it wide left. Excuse me, wide right. Handedness is tough.
It's all right.
Left-hander at the plate. Swings and misses. Fultz so far today, yet to be retired. She's done a good job responding on the offensive side after having a tough day out there in the circle, which is what you expect from an All-American.
Been a little more impressed with her back control, I think, more than maybe like any power I might have expected.
It's a group of sophomores that has not learned how to lose in their time at Paris Junior College. 102 wins for this sophomore class combined between last year and this season. Check swing, no swing, says the third base umpire, is Tim Slama.
Perhaps they have learned how to lose and not do it very often.
It's a good way of looking at it. As you hear some people coming at you with the term of, I don't want people who love to win, I want people who hate to lose. That's a called strike 3, and Fultz loses an at bat for the first time. She heads back to the dugout. First strikeout victim for Cottrell. And an important way to start the 6th, as Ornelas, who was pinch hit for by Peyton Peck last time, will step in for her second plate appearance of the day. Walked in her only other trip to the plate. Grounds one foul to the left side.
If this is it for Paris' season, and I'm not saying it is, Ornelas has been one of the more cumulatively impressive players in this tournament. It's built up slowly, but she's played extremely well over the course of time.
Called strike on the outside that draws the ire from the faithful. She'll spoil that to stay alive. And I'm still very impressed by both of these teams' abilities to battle with 2 strikes. Seen that change the dynamic of several at-bats, particularly from the bottom of the order. Cottrell can't get her to go chasing after one even further off the plate. That one in the left-handed batter's box. But back-to-back punch-outs result on the next pitch. And the momentum starting to fade from the steam engine. That was the Paris train.
You saying the Dragons are losing their fire a little bit?
He's a man who is better at words sometimes than anybody on the planet. Tyler Springs, ladies and gentlemen.
Just watch Little Shrek. That's what I tell people.
0-1 count to Phillips. Count goes to 1-1. Now, which Shrek would the dragon that Paris is trying to build on most need? It's bunt shown and called a strike.
I mean, honestly, right now you need to be Donkey in the opening scene where he gets sprinkled with Tinkerbell's pixie dust. He starts flying.
Need some help for sure, as they trail by 6 and on the verge of being down to just 1 inning to try and pull that off. They've written a better story in this one than they were going to have, as they were blanked down 10-0 at one point in time. That one gets away from Cottrell all the way to the backstop. Smile on her face, though, as she comes and gets it. Oops. Didn't mean to. Izzy Garcia, actually, excuse me, new first baseman, as Angie De Leon is now over at first. That one's spoiled away. De Leon comes in from the DP position to play first base, adding a little bit of defense, and again, give Garcia probably a little bit more time in the dugout before coming in on the next game. Check swing foul.
You just don't get this in baseball because you don't have hitters who slap, but if you really watch closely the game of chicken that slap hitters play with the ball right up until the very last second, it's pretty wild how close they get.
I think there is an aspect of it in baseball, but not in American baseball. It's more over in Japan.
That's fair.
I do remember the Ichiro swing days where he would terrorize American League pitchers with that, but it's one where it does change where your left fielder has to play. If you're that left-handed slap hitter. And a shot over to second. What a play! Diving deep into the hole, barehanded by Cambiano. And the flip to De Leon will end the frame. Slammed the door shut since she entered the game in the top of the 3rd inning. Did give up a 3 spot in the 4th, but since then has retired 8 straight Leopards. She faces off against Izzy Garcia, whose last at-bat was a 2 RBI double that turned into a Little League home run. Cleared the bases, and they've stayed that way since. One and 2 count. Back up the middle, outfield playing deep for no doubles. Doesn't give any type of chance for Roland to come up and field that, as that ends up being a single. 3 for 4 now for Izzy Garcia. Angie De Leon will stride forward to replace her in the batter's box. She's 1 for 3 on the day. And before that, we're going to get a conversation between all 3 of them on the left side of the infield for a team in Temple that won the national championship in 2018. And they have some experience from that in the coaching staff, as assistant coach Maurice Zaleski was on that team and has been a lifer with Temple. Played basketball at Temple. His daughter coached that team. Currently is an associate coach at the University of Texas, which is, I believe, still alive in the Softball World Series for the Division I ranks, as that ball slapped over to right field, gets De Leon on base. His daughter Kelly played basketball at Temple. We talk about family affairs at these junior colleges and how close Temple is with recruiting everybody. It's definitely a tight-knit group, and I think that's one of the reasons why they've consistently been on the upper echelons of the college ranks. As a substitution onto the base paths will be Kylie Cambiano, as she will step in from second base to Curtis, or pinch run. She was playing second base at least to start this game off. Now back into the game to replace De Leon. And I believe there were subs we missed on the last inning then.
Cambiano made the last out with a diving grab, I think.
It was. So you might be seeing Garcia returning to the field, possibly. Or using that DP. The mysteries of the DP will never continue to amaze me. And at some point in time, I will have a softball coach sit down and give me about a 3-week course on the way it works. As Marley Kennedy, meanwhile, goes and swings and misses at the third pitch she sees, as she is strikeout victim number 1 for Grace McDonald. Runners at first and second have to remain where they're at.
First strikeout of a Temple hitter today.
They've put the ball in play successfully quite a bit as Brooklyn Walton takes a slap at one and sends it to the left side, just beyond the fences here that surround the signature field in Oxford, Alabama. We'll go back to Kennedy on those swings and misses. She was part of that collision in the outfield, and that might have affected that plate appearance as well. She still looked to be in some discomfort in the top of the sixth when they came out, or excuse me, bottom of the sixth when they came out for defense. But somebody who's not showing discomfort from that collision is Walton, who gets a swinging bunt for a base hit. And the bases are loaded full of Leopards. Lexi Dudechka, 2 for 4, has put the ball in play every time with a fly out to center and a line out to the pitcher. Her only 2 times being retired, has an RBI already. She takes the slap hit approach and takes outside for a ball. This time, less of the running start. Count goes to 2-0. No place to put her, so Dudechka's got to be expecting a pitch in the zone. Won't get it there. 3-0 and no place to put her, as the fatigue of 5 games maybe wearing on to Grace McDonald. Stays in it for one more. Walk to bring in a run. Dudechka gets another RBI, this time the easy way. As the carousel starts up here in the 7th. Station to station go the Leopards. Garcia scores. Cambiano moves up to 3rd. Walton to 2nd. And Benavidez will stride to the plate. This might be the hammer to the anvil that ends up silencing the last chances for the Dragons after they went 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 6th inning. That is going to bring home 2 more. Another single. Benavidez makes it 13-4 to emphasize the point. Dudechka moves up to 2nd. Cambiano scores and Walton behind her. And a trip out to the mound as Coach Shelby Shelton is going to gather the infield around her. And this is going to do it for Grace McDonald. Up, the sophomore from New Caney, Texas. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, getting her first appearance of the World Series.
That's right. 12 appearances on the year. This is her 13th. She is 4-0 in 30 innings of work, 34 strikeouts, 16 walks with a 163 earned run average. Actually pitched twice as much last year, 66 innings, 71 Ks, but has not seen quite as much action this season.
She'll face off against the heart of the order, Reese Cottrell, to lead things off, and there's the first pitch for a ball. It's Cottrell who's come in and been able to keep the Dragons from roaring anymore. Only giving up a couple of hits and a walk in her time in the circle. Started the game at first base. Trying to keep the bases packed full of the black and gold pinstripes. Count to 3-0. Aranda struggling to find the zone.
You know what they call a pack of leopards, Caleb?
I do not.
It's commonly referred to as a leap or a prowl. But seeing leopards in a pack because they are solitary creatures is pretty rare.
These leopards have come together in their last 2 games to score 20 runs against 4 against them. And the bases are again loaded. And their fans are letting them know that they're going to be sticking around for another game after this one. And I know you say never when you're Paris, and you should never say never in this game. But 9 runs is a difficult one to try and pick back up. As a 1-1 count faces Ratu.
Sun's getting a little low on the Dragons.
However, Aranda shows that she's got some pop. That was a fiery pitch. Count goes to 1-2. And a pop-up on the next off speed. Called for over at second. And put away by Ornelas to record out number 2 in the inning. And the last chance for Temple to stack on any more is not going to be Riley Litchfield. That is going to be a pinch hitter in Jessica Reyes out of Rosenberg, Texas. Reyes, backup infielder, primarily serves as a courtesy runner for the Leopards. Takes the first pitch away. Has started 9 games. This is her 39th at-bat of the season. Actually has a home run and 2 doubles. So don't count her out from being potentially able to run into something and find a gap to give herself a bit more of a World Series memory. Has 6 RBIs, but has scored 20 runs in courtesy running opportunities. Gets ahead 3-0 in the count.
Second hitter that Aranda has fallen behind. Same comeback pitch.
Deja vu to Reese Cottrell, who walked on a 3-1 count. And that is what I was expecting from a player who is getting their first chance in the World Series to take some cuts. You don't want to stand up at the plate, get a chance at a pitch, and not leave the bat on your shoulders when it's your lone opportunity that you might get. Chance to say you got a hit in the World Series, not something everybody gets to say. As she'll flare this one to left field and foul to stay alive for another 3-2. Ray is just a freshman. Part of a lineup that is peppered with freshmen up and down the roster. They've got 7 sophomores on this team, but the rest of them underclassmen who should be back for another chance at a run next year, but they're not done this year as that one misses outside and low, and a walk is going to give her an RBI.
World Series RBI.
And that's something that's another thing that, and it's not just softball at this moment, it's something that at the junior college level and even at the 4-year level, just at the college level in general, you see from coaches who have opportunities, whether you're on the winning side or you're on the losing side of a game, and you have an opportunity to give some of your team those memories, that's what you do. Now it's up to Izzy Garcia. She gets ahead 2-0. Looking ahead at the next game, Leopards had a taste of this very same medicine given to them by Florida Southwestern. Saw a 12-2 loss in 5 innings to the Buccaneers yesterday. How do you take this momentum, Tyler, and bring it into that next game?
I think part of it is the aggressiveness you saw early on. I think in part because that's what you got from Northeast Alabama against Florida Southwestern. Based on the way they use their pitchers, Florida Southwestern is not going to run anybody out there for a complete game. So you have to jump on them. You can't wait them out.
3-2.
And I think Temple's done a good job of bringing that today against what's admittedly a shallower staff, if you will, with Paris. But I think the same approach can work, especially seeing Florida Southwestern for a second time, being a little more motivated.
Pitch misses as another walk will keep the ride going for the Leopards, at least one more batter. I'll flip that question to you as stepping up be Angie De Leon, but she'll face off against another batter. I'll ask this question to you once we come back from another pitching change as the only other sophomore pitcher on the roster, Rayleigh Shockley, will step in after we come back on the on ESPN Plus.
Get 1.9% APR financing or a $2,500 customer bonus on a select new 2026 Tiguan.
Pitcher into the circle, Rayleigh Shockley out of Bonham, Texas, will get her first cuts, or first chances out there for the Dragons. Numbers there, 1 save for her, making her 20th appearance.
I've seen a little bit of Shockley already in this World Series. Not a ton, though. Kind of a break glass in case of emergency option at this point. But it has to be a little bit better with command than Aranda.
5 runs already across in a 15-4 game, and she can't find the zone either as Angie De Leon slid over to first base on the defensive side after starting as a designated player. Takes a cut and moves it to 1-1. 2 outs, you just need 1 more. Let's give the question quickly on this one. See how much time we have for you to answer this one, but if you're Florida Southwestern, that's called a strike, and maybe give you time to ponder on this one going into the next half of the inning. But if you're Florida Southwestern coming off of a loss and going against a team like the Leopards that has now obviously a lot of positive momentum, how do you channel that and slow that momentum down going into the next game, knowing that you're coming off of a loss as well in a game where you got stung pretty sharply by Northeast Alabama. Count at 1 and 2 as that one fouled away. And think on that one. We'll come back to that question in the bottom of the 7th inning. And that will be in about 90 seconds. 15-14. Dragons with one more shot. Soto, McDonald, and Flores due up.
This is where you build your legacy and become unforgettable.
This is the stuff you dream about.
The Men's College World Series begins June 12th, exclusively on ESPN.
15-4, Temple in control and in command, as those of you might be checking things out to be watching the final game of the day. Be a little bit behind scheduled for 5:30. Florida Southwestern awaiting the winner of this game, which, barring an incredible comeback, will be the Temple Leopards. It's up to bat is going to be Esmeralda Soto, the shortstop for Paris Junior College. Faces a 2-0 count. Tyler, I left it to you in the break on how the Buccaneers kind of slow things down for the Leopards after they were able to put some impressive numbers on the board in this one.
I think your best defense is a good offense at this point, Caleb. Something that Florida Southwestern failed to do against Northeast Alabama this morning. You know, the bottom of the order could not get going, and they could not get early run support either, which is part of what cost Alexander Soto that start. So I think trying to get back to your roots of manufacturing runs, not necessarily with power, but using the gaps, playing efficiently on defense, and trying to assert your dominance.
Shot to left field, Checkles down, and Soto gets on with the leadoff single.
I think those would fall all in the category of trying to establish a winning pattern in a winner-go-home game, something they couldn't do this morning. But they hit everybody last time they faced Paris, or last time they faced Temple. So why not have confidence in yourselves? I don't think whether it's Chick-fil-A or Jimmy John's, one or the other would do more or less for them in the in-between. Maybe it did. I could be wrong.
Well, I know the smoothies they got for breakfast this morning were not the ticket.
You had one?
I did not have one.
Okay.
I did not.
Oh, I thought you were like
Roy,
the smoothie
Roy
tester.
left you and I hanging, so we did not get the invite to that one.
Okay.
Although his
Sounds like we
got
didn't want it.
his got stolen from him, though, to be fair. So he didn't even end up with one on the smoothie run.
Sounds like he didn't need one. If they weren't that great.
You know, us SIDs, we run off of we run off of good vibes and positive energy.
Shout out Roy.
One of the best. Shout out to all the honestly, a huge shout out to all of the SIDs
Second that.
who provided us with a ton of information on these teams coming in. It is a marathon to try and get numbers and information from 20 teams coming into a tournament, and between the coaches' conversations that we had, between the SIDs that provide us with information, the NJCAA helping provide us with information as well.
Sure. Jerry McCarty's done a great job, I think, coordinating not just the rescheduling, but also the supply of information prior to the tournament, and the history on the championship. It's been great.
Pop up back behind second, and that's going to be fielded well by Cambiano. I know SIDs can sometimes be a grinded out job where you don't necessarily get a lot of the spotlight, but each of these programs that have one of those SIDs running in the background, sometimes coaches that are running as SIDs at the same time. I don't know, between the ATs are definitely the most overworked on a staff at a junior college. I will stand on that one, but sports information, especially when you have a college like some of these that have double-digit sports. It is a run-around grind, and I know the athletes appreciate it as well. They are some of the best bonds that you have are athletes that you make friends with forever. And you follow their careers as they go on, and that's, I think, something else to know and remember for Paris and the Dragons is the story's not done for the players that are out here, even when this game wraps up.
Many of them will go on to play at a higher level.
Jalen Flores, by the way, being pinch hit for in this final plate appearance. As stepping in, Cadence Beck, the sophomore catcher out of San Antonio, Texas, gets her first appearance of the World Series. 2-2 the count. Beck flares that one foul, making just her 21st appearance on the year. Trying to solve Cottrell one more time and makes it a full count.
And just to make it comprehensive, for some, this will be the last stage for their softball career. And it's fun to see them have left it out there with all the effort they've got. But they're going to go on and do something way more important after this, more than likely.
Called strike 3. And that will signal the end for Beck in this at-bat. Third punch out in the last 6 batters from Reese Cottrell.
I think it was a voice well known to Texans, Mac Brown, who's famous for the quote of not saying to his players, I don't want playing for the national title to be the best thing you ever do with your life.
Well, that's the beauty of the junior college system is it allows these players that many times would not have gone to college, were it for funding and finances, or just grades in general of not qualifying for a 4-year school to get into that school, gives them a chance to have not just more life in terms of a softball career or whatever sport they choose, but more life in terms of the opportunities that they're given. I know every college president that I've ever been around that's come and talked to the teams has always started off on saying, look, the focus is academics. That gets you the chance to play athletics, and for the Dragons, a 3.94 GPA this year is evident of that. But for them, the road comes to a close as the rain begins to fall here in Oxford. We'll see what that does for our next game, but for one thing that we know for sure, Temple will advance on to take on Florida Southwest, and Florida Southwestern will try to knock the Leopards off of their perch for a second time in this tournament.
Impressive finish for Temple. Ended a little bit later than they probably wanted it to, but they did produce 15 runs in the day, which should be commended. And I think you have to give a tip of the cap, especially to the toughness of Marley Kennedy, right? 2 big hits in this game, I think deserving of our Zurich Insurance Player of the Game honors, and did it while also wearing a pretty tough collision out there in the outfield.
Yeah, great defensive plays. Got the offense sparked. In fact, her triple in the second inning brought home the opening run when she scored Angie De Leon. Not a better opportunity for the Zurich Insurance Player of the Game in what she was able to do. The other players of the tournament, the grounds crew, you can see them in the background. They're hustling everybody off of the field right now as we are going to have a delay before our next game. Keep it tuned here, though, to ESPN Plus, and keep checking in to find out when that next game will be. Temple advances into the semifinal, the final semifinal, before we get to the championship games tomorrow, as that game will be upcoming from Oxford and the NJCAA Division I World Series.